folks. This morning soap's brought to us by Stubble Buster. Name of this one here is Absolutely. Get about 4 ounces of goodness in there. Oh, by the way, that's scent description, a little bit of the honey, tobacco, oak moss. That's what it looks like on the inside. It's pretty soft. I tell you, it's fairly easy to scrape out of there. That's not quite a croat, but getting pretty close to it. Really easy to scoop out and lather up. Got it whipped up over here with the, see if I can get this worked out here. Shaven Sailor 3D printed brush. Got it whipped up over here on the wet side. Here in the wooden bowl, walnut from the Distinctive Goat. It's a pretty nice bowl. It's got grooves on the inside. Also got the Allen Block no rubber band this morning. Humphrey's Witch Hazel Citrus Scented, and I also got the matching aftershave here. The I've got a link down below if you want to read into it. The scent description, there's a lot of scents in this one here, more than just the 3 that was listed right there. This is the Preshave soap, unscented but mentholated. The designer cologne that they suggest to go with this one here, if I remember correctly, is Boss Number 1. It makes it pretty nice to have all that spelled out for somebody that might be challenged like me. Not sure what goes with what, and sometimes it's just me picking out what I feel like wearing today. I have a lot of fun sometimes picking out the soaps and aftershaves, because I know for some folks that, I can say, wrong time of the year, that don't go together for whatever the reason is, and for me it's just whatever I prefer to use that day. That's pretty much what I work with. Kind of like my shaver today. My shaver is a Schick Injector. It's the Schick, I guess you might say, when it comes to giving names or models or whatever, wasn't the easiest, much less trying to date them. And somebody came up with a way of identifying them so everybody could understand what each person was referring to or talking about. And this one here is an L1. I'll have a link down below for a website that'll help explain a lot of that sort of thing, what the different models are in the years that they think that they were introduced. Can't remember for sure on this one here, this Schick. I want to say 1970, but I might be a wee bit off. Nice and wet. It whipped up pretty easy. I saw a posting, speaking of that sort of thing, I saw a posting that was kind of cracking me up. Talking about how long it takes to whip up lather. And it was a Batman Robin type thing. Saying you need to lather, you know, try to whip it up, you know, and it takes about at least 11 minutes or something like that. Batman was disagreeing with the 11 minutes. I just really, you know, for me it just depends on where your skill level's at when it comes to how long does it take to whip up a lather. I did spend quite a bit of time practicing lathering soap, and Williams was the one that I spent a lot of time with. Kind of felt like if I could lather that one, I could lather anything. And I did spend some time, I guess you might say, watching how the lather built up. I guess you might say how it matured, how much water, how this brush worked with it versus another brush. Synthetics don't, the bristles themselves don't soak up the water, but they do hold water in between the bristles. And of course natural bristles not only hold it between, but also they do soak up some of the water in the bristle itself. So something to think about when you're lathering. because I did a little bit of practicing this past few days face lathering, and noticed that there's a big difference on how one knot will lather with compared to another one. Had a little bit of fun. Where I didn't have so much fun was the other day. My Ford truck, F-150. It's a 1992 model, so it's got a few miles on it, and it's not exactly a young truck. And I noticed when I went to go pick up my daughter from summer school that steam was coming out from underneath the hood. And I could see where the steam was coming from in general, but not exactly where it was at. So it did take me a while to figure where it's at. Plus, it never actually truly overheated, but it did get warmer than what it normally does. So in other words, it wasn't catastrophic. And this does smell good. When I first started lathering this up, I was having a hard time pinpointing where I'd smelled this before. At any rate, eventually I was able to let it cool down, put some more fluid in it, start it back up, and then the hose just went ahead, and instead of just having maybe just a small leak in it, it blew. And it was not your typical radiator hose that's on top of the radiator or coming off the bottom. It was on top of this little hose, was on top of the intake manifold under some linkage. I was having a heck of a time trying to figure out what was up in there that was carrying antifreeze, but I did find it. And of course the hose is not the easiest hose to find. So I understand why that hose was actually a hose that was ready to be for a fuel line. But I understand why they used it, because that's the only size line that you could find that would work there. So that's what I replaced it with. It wasn't a real long hose, it was about, I don't know, 6-7 inches long. But I tell you what, it was not easy for somebody short like me reaching way up in there. And plus, the way it's set up, there's a lot of stuff you'd have to remove in order to make it comfortable to replace it. But like anything else that's old, I'm afraid to mess with it too much to make how you say, you end up replacing a whole lot more than just that one hose. But I did get it back up and running. As far as I know, my repair's holding. I did use some lubrication. They have these little packets at AutoZone for lubrication for various applications, and the one I picked up was for brakes. And what I was really after was putting that lubrication on the hose as well as the metal tubing to make it slick, easier to put on there. Because it was way up in there for me. As short as I am, it's all I could do to reach up in there. Besides, it's such a tight fit just to get your hand up in there. But it was quite a fun. My daughter, we were talking motor parts and whatnot on the way home. So she got a little bit of an extra education about parts and whatnot, the workings of the motor. She was wondering why I was so concerned about it. Told her because I didn't want it to overheat too, get too hot, which it didn't. It runs back towards the cold. And for whatever reason, that needle never gets straight up and down in the middle. And it was running about 3/4 of the way over on the gauge, so it never did actually overheat. But it was running a lot warmer than what it normally does. And I explained to her how old the truck was, and this has put quite a strain on the motor, and I didn't want the motor to die. Because it was, getting rather warm temperature-wise. She seemed to understand at least the basic part of it. kind of funny how some people grasp some things. I had watched a video. There's a couple of more. I saw Jill had another one out this morning, but I watched kids, I guess you might say, a video for beginners, just basically talking about what, you know, some people, how they get started in wet shaving, and about saving money versus a cartridge. And for me, it was a kind of twofold, excluding the wife part of it. But for me, the amount of money that I was spending versus the quality of the shave was not matching up. In other words, I was not happy with the shave, and I definitely wasn't happy with the amount of money I was spending. So I was already looking for something different when the wife was wanting me to shave off most of my beard. But Preshave's pretty good. That was one of the main reasons I was getting away from shaving to begin with, because the amount of money I was spending was not matching the shave. And nowadays, my shave is great. Shave with a number of different kind of shavers, different soaps, different price ranges, and my shaves are a whole lot better than what they used to be, that's for sure. I definitely enjoy it. It's quite a journey. There's a lot of different shavers out there, a lot of different blades, and a lot of different soap or creams. I have a tendency to kind of lump them all together, as goes for soaps and creams. Routines. Some don't go with what I would call a traditional against the grain pass, going from south to north. They do two across the grains, which I perfectly understand, especially once you figure out how the bulk of the majority of your hair is growing. Two across the grains might be closer to being one of them being against the grain because of the way your hair grows, and it might even be smoother for you to go that way. It just depends on how your hair's grown, that and the density of your growth. And with DE blades, once you find one that you like, or a few that you like, they're not real expensive. To me, you just get more value out of your money going with a traditional type of shave. Much better shave, at least for me it is. Much better. I don't mind shaving at all now. I actually enjoy it. Before, I hated it. That's the reason why I grew the beard. It just awful shaves. Weepers, yeah, is more like a great big old patch right here on a regular basis that would just bleed, and uncomfortable. The next shave was just, you know, you're being really careful right there. Chin and upper lip, as you can see, is kind of a dense growth. Not a fun place to be trying to shave. Yeah, this is much better for me. I like this scent. This is really a nice scent. Definitely a cologne scent. Fairly, at least per my nose, 7, maybe an 8 on the scent strength. It's a fairly strong scent. Not all their scents are as strong as this one. Some are a little bit lighter, not quite as strong. This one here is definitely out there. I like this one. I mean, something this strong works well with my nose. I had a great shave this morning. Face feels wonderful. This really is a nice shaver for me. Hope everybody's doing well. Stay safe and smooth shaves to you.